Hello and welcome to the Astroholic Spooktacular!
Hey.
And it's been 1 year since more than 1 year since we started Astroholic.
I know, and if you remember back to Halloween last year, we also had our lovely guest, Russell Moul, here, talking about some spooky stuff. Spooky stuff. Spooky science, even Halloweeny science. Gross shit, that's really cool.
And so we thought as a treat, we'll bring him back.
You wouldn't even grill me out for Halloween.
Well,
we know what you're useful for, so that's something to bring you out.
Usually Russ is in a crypt. But on Halloween he can walk
walk among the living.
Yes, exactly.
I think it's just how historians work, to be fair.
Yeah. Yes, because Russ is now working as a historian of science and medicine. Would you like to tell us about what you're doing now?
Should we not introduce
Oh, yes,
the rest of us first?
Let's do everything.
So for
Okay.
anyone who has not tuned in before, and I'm sure it's the same, like 5 people always tune in, so hey guys. This here is Dr. Alfredo Carpinetti, and I am almost but not yet Dr. Matt Young. And then now we have almost. Dr. Russell Moul.
But certainly not yet.
So yeah, welcome to the Astroholic Live, where we'll be talking about science stuff. Obviously Halloween theme now.
More than Halloween theme is just things that are weird or horrible.
Gory and gross and... Yeah, and we'll be making some cocktails. And by we, I mean Alf will be making cocktails.
And if you have any questions, please let us know.
Tweet them to us under the hashtag #TheAstroholicLive, or tweet them at either one of us, myself or Alf.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, if you have any good science puns, we love a good science pun, so please send them our way. We've had quite a few good ones in the previous shows, so send them all.
Yes, and without further ado, please tell us something about your new research project.
My new research project.
Yes.
So what I actually do. Yes, I am Russell Moul. I've just started a PhD. I am a historian of science and medicine. Specifically, the area of interest is in medical ethics, and true to form, I'm into some pretty interesting stuff. I like light-hearted subjects, so I'm particularly interested in doctors involved in torture experiments in the 1950s.
Lovely.
Yes.
Sounds really nice. Like, it's
quite
very good. Like Sunday afternoon reading.
Yeah, no, I had a wonderful moment the other day where I was walking through a library with 3 volumes in my hand on torture, psychological torture, tactics of torture, and I walked past some undergrads, and I saw them eye up the names, look back at me, back at the names, back at me, and I just said, I'll be teaching you next year. With a wince, and they ran. So yes, that is what I do. But tonight I'm here to talk about various strange processes to do with the dead.
Cool.
Let's dive right in.
Yeah, let's.
I say, I want to hear all about dead people. What are you starting with?
So let's talk about, as we're doing kind of science, let's talk about preservation of the body. So a kind of a brief overview history of embalming, which is a very, very ancient practice, and forms of embalming have appeared in many different cultures across the world. Obviously the most famous case, as we know, would be the Egyptians. There's evidence of the early form of embalming dating back to 5000 BCE. But you also have the Ethiopians, you have the Babylonians, the Syrians, the ancient Chinese.
So basically everyone.
Lots, for different reasons, very much different reasons, and different cultures and different geographical locations had different approaches depending on what the kind of ambient conditions were. So in certain more arid areas, preserving a body is easier because it's actually hotter, whereas in a damper climate, you actually have to intervene yourself and find ways of preserving the body. For instance, in the ancient Egypt, as we probably are aware, the preservation of the body was part of the ritual rite of passage for dead. So
Really? Never heard of that.
No, yeah, nobody knows about it.
Yeah, it's a really lesser known fact.
Yeah, these mummies, nobody has a clue about them. Really.
I mean, I knew about mummies before most people knew about mummies, but
are you a hipster of mummies?
Yeah. I'm like the hipster of dead things. Can you not tell I'm a bit of like an emo Death Eater today? So hipster emo crossover.
Are you saying that you like
like-
mummies before when they were still underground?
I don't know if that is a joke or if that is a pun, but I'm gonna say I do not understand the question and I won't respond to it.
Fair enough. Well, moving away from your,
Yes.
Back to the dead.
moving away from your mummy issues.
Oh snap! Wait! Getting the shame bell out.
Yeah,
This is just.
I'm starting to remember how this rolls now. It's been a year.
Good. Wait, is it even on? There
Good.
we go.
Excellent.
That was a terrible pun. Keep more coming.
There'll be certainly more puns. So yes, embalming. Questions so far?
No, so far so
No,
good.
good. So embalming, as we know, as I've just said, dates back. You have a couple of epochs of particular practice. You have the Egyptians, and they were stuffing and pulling things out of bodies for several thousand years. The practice then slipped into obscurity once Christianity rose to a height because the treatment of the dead was much more sacred and preservation of bodies was not so important. So it's a kind of rolling off for quite a few years until the Renaissance, where you suddenly have the interest in preserving the dead for scientific purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So Da Vinci experimented with various ways of staving off decomposition and so on, so he could study actually anatomy. But going backwards again a little bit more, there is actual evidence that forms of embalming and autopsies in particular did take place in the medieval period, which is obviously quite regularly forgotten, overlooked, or kind of ignored, but it's actually really quite cool and very good for the Halloween theme, because you have a very strange setup in the medieval period where the body of the dead, depending on where you are in Europe, has a different meaning. So if you're in the northern part of Europe, you seem to have, British Isles, France, anywhere with kind of a Germanic culture, they have ghost stories where the dead come back to life after, obviously after they died, and will harass the living. And they're almost like the Walking Dead. You have lots of these accounts of these revenants returning and attacking people. But you don't have it in Italy.
Yeah, I always find it very fascinating that we don't have all the sort of mythology of ghosts. Usually, the few stories that we have is somebody that had an injustice.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually maiden that were trapped in towers by evil stepfathers. And they're just there waiting. And it's fascinating because most of the scary supernatural is people dabbling with the supernatural, witches, people making pacts with demons rather than actual supernatural being.
Yeah, and you even have holidays named after witches, don't you? You've got that one in January sometimes where a witch comes and gives you presents.
No, but that she was a soothsayer. That helped the three wise men. But yes, it's very interesting that she in the Christian iconography, she being a soothsayer and help the wise men reach Christ on 12th night. She was in a way canonized as a helpful spirit.
Okay.
And although her appearance is very much witch-like, she flies on a broomstick, she's very ugly, and she decides who's good and who's bad, very similar to Father Christmas.
Oh, that's cool.
And she's the one that brings cold to children, not Father Christmas. And we put our stocking on 12th night rather than on Christmas.
Oh, okay. So you've got the kind of Italian version of the Krampus.
But
she's not.
Doesn't sound as
she's
scary
ugly,
as
but
Krampus.
she's not evil. She's a good spirit.
But Krampus isn't evil. Krampus is exactly the same. I mean, if you've seen the movie Krampus, which by the way is awful, have you seen it?
Yeah.
It is
quite
just
fun.
It's fun in a way that watching someone fall over is fun, but their very act itself is awful. But no, Krampus, the idea of the legend of Krampus or whatever it is, he's the same as the witch. Like, he's not meant to be bad because he's good. He's the disciplinarian. He will, although obviously this story comes from like a long time ago. The story of Krampus is that he'll come and take children who have been naughty, and he puts them in his bag, and then he beats the bag, and then he'll like put them back out and be like, "Here's your cop. You're better now," and the parents thank him.
Yeah, I don't think it's the same.
No.
Anyway, it's on the witch is La Befana.
La Befana.
Yeah.
But back to the dead.
Back to the dead. So,
dead.
yes, so you've got this difference in traditions of the dead after dying and whether or not they can actually come back to life. Not so much in the south, but you certainly have it in the north. And one historian has suggested that this could actually be due to the treatment of the body after death. So in Italy, where you have the medical schools and more exploration of the body, the cadaver, after death, you have early autopsies. Mainly autopsies were actually, as a side note, were actually used in this period, not for murders and crimes as we associate with them, but actually for proof of sainthood. So if somebody was saintly, their body was supposed to show signs of a divine touch. So you'd actually conduct an autopsy on a suspected potential future saint to see if their body shows signs of actual divinity. And it would usually be located in the heart. You'd find a stone in the shape of a cross or something like that.
So, okay, I have to interject. So, I was going to ask, before you said that, what would they consider a saintly mark? But a stone in the form of a cross in your heart.
In your heart.
Did anyone ever find that?
Lots claimed to have found that, which is one of the steps for actually being canonised. So you actually had to have this as a sign, and so people would actually claim that they found in various individuals these indications that they were saintly.
I need to interject because you guys are talking about this like this is ancient history. When they exhumed Pope John XXIII a few years ago, so he died in 1964. The fact that his face wasn't decomposed was used as evidence that he was a saint, and it was just like, and people, there were almost 1 million people going to the Vatican to see a 45 years old dead body.
Yeah.
But so it's not ancient history. It's people.
Yeah.
It's been transmitted long. It's if your body is untouched, is by the earthly.
Yes.
Religion, huh?
Yeah, religion.
The tradition still stays, but in the north, you didn't have the tradition of dealing with the dead afterwards. So once you died, you were basically seen as in a kind of liminal space between being dead and being alive, and you could potentially be possessed at this stage. And so there was much more of a tradition in the northern hemisphere, in the northern European countries, of these bodies coming back to life. And as I say, one particular historian has argued that this could be because the northern cultures didn't have the dealings with the dead in the same way. They didn't break them down, atomize them. They actually just had them as these potential vessels where the soul had exited, and for a time they could be susceptible to something else going in. And you see another kind of drop-off as the post-mortem started coming to practice and the ghosts suddenly change again. So yeah, even in the medieval period you have opportunities where post-mortem and embalming was used to preserve life. And it generally, the medieval period, they followed the traditions of Egypt, which had been kind of saved through Greek translations. So so they followed similar ways. They would remove the visceral organs. Your brain would be pulled out through various ways. You would be stuffed with various salts, herbs. Sometimes, if you were quite poor, you would have your anal cavity would be evacuated using various pressure pumps to remove all the blood, and then you would be packed with kind of sawdust, and that would help dry you out. And
you've had a similar experience to that, haven't you?
I was about to ask you the same question. No, but I'm pretty sure there are a couple of clubs in London that do that. So.
Yeah, if you're interested, Google it. We don't need to take you there. We don't need to give you much information. We've actually had a couple of tweets already. One from Dave Ware Williams. I like the Halloween twist there. He says, "Do you know any gruesome stories or near-death tales involving famous scientists?"
We do, and we're gonna get there when I get the chance to tell the spooky stories.
Oh, okay, so that's already coming up. James Gregory says hi.
Hi.
And he's wondering if Lucifer has expired behind the camera. No, he's still alive. He's still there. He's working very hard.
Greg just said, "Can't read my
Paper face." That's the way. I'm not going to shame you. That's great. I wish Lady Gaga would do like a remake of
Papal face as opposed to poker face.
Papal face. Well, it must be a good one if the guy was still looking like a fresh body after 45 years.
Anyway.
So whose turn to talk?
Anyway.
How much more you got? We can take a break and I can move
Yeah,
on
you
to
move on to something else. I can come back and roll with it. So, do you want to go?
Okay, yes. Actually, we have another joke if Matt wants to read it.
Oh, is it the one from Luke?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so we just got a tweet from. There's like 4 of us looking on Twitter here, checking it. So, got a tweet from Luke Stringer here at LukeStringer90. Hey Luke, also saw you the other week. It says, I guess many cultures parasitized embalming, but we don't know as they were good at keeping mummies.
You want to reread
I'm
that?
not
Yes.
sure.
I'm gonna read that again.
I think it's practiced, not parasitized.
Oh yeah, sorry, your autocorrect threw me. So your tweet probably should have read, I guess many cultures practiced embalming, but we don't know as they were good at keeping mummies.
It's much better when you read it properly.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And so yeah, don't blame autocorrect, blame me. But thanks, Luke. That
And
is
also, parasite thing
Paris. So,
works as well. Because
why is that an autocorrect? I mean, love it.
No, because they stole the concept of embalming. It works.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, let's answer Dave's question with a near-death experience by a scientist. The scientist's name is Anatoly Bugorsky, Russian scientist, and is the only person who survived by being hit by a proton beam. Actually, I think he's the only person we know that was ever hit by a proton beam. So, proton beam is a very, very tiny stream of protons, which are the fundamental particles at the core of atoms, and they were moving at speed of light in a particle accelerator, and the proton beam went through his face, skull, and brain. And not only he survived, although he was so his face and brain and skull was so badly burned that people, the medical team, were looking after him just to study the effect. They didn't believe that he could survive. They believed that he had a fatal dose of radiation. But not only he survived, he also finished his PhD. So that should be like quite a hopeful message. Even if you can finish your PhD, even if you get hit by a proton beam.
I mean,
Yay.
did you just set this up as he was the only person to have ever survived a proton beam, but he was also the only person to ever be hit by a proton beam? Fair enough.
Why is it that proton beams are really dangerous, but it didn't give much internal damage?
Well, it did give enough internal damage. He said he saw a flash that burned like 1,000 sun, and it burned. His face was completely burned, and so his brain, everything. It survived probably because the cross section, so the size of the beam was so small that it didn't destroy everything. And it's not the only example. Actually, we talked at the Astroholic Spooktacular last year about the guy that got
Phineas Gage.
Yeah.
Phineas. Mr. Gage. We'll call him Mr. Gage.
So
Got a railroad spike through his head and through his brain, and he lived. Although he did become a bit of a psychopath, and everyone hated him afterwards. But
Oh, he functioned. His entire personality shifted. I remember talking about this last year. It's one of the gory stories that always makes me kind of smile and also slightly heave when his doctor came to visit him and found him upstairs, coherent, talking in bed, and halfway through a sentence he coughs and then pulls out a chunk of brain from his mouth. That one always gets me.
And his Phineas gauge, because he's actually on the connected.
So was there any?
He had occasional, not regular seizures, similar to epileptic seizure. But for somebody being hit by a proton beam, quite good.
I'd say so.
Yes.
Not bad.
On that note, shall we get around to this Halloween cocktail?
Yes. So
I've been really looking forward to it because Alf has not actually told us this time what it's going to actually drink.
After
we just got told you will drink it.
After a few mishap with cocktails, apart from last time that the cocktail was really good.
Was it like a basil mojito we had last time?
Yes, we had the basil mojito, and you didn't believe that it was going to be good.
No, because I thought you're putting basil in anything other than pesto, so that's clearly going to be disgusting, but actually was really good. So what have we got here? This is champagne. No?
Yes.
Yes, so we have got some champagne. And now what?
And
now what?
Oh, there's plenty. I think we can do maybe a couple. And for those of you that can do maths, you can see that it's 5. There's only 3 of us. Obviously, 2 are for the backstage hands, like producer Chris. The producer Chris. So
what are you calling this?
Huh?
What are you going to call this?
That's what I'm not telling you, but I'm waiting for the final ingredients.
So
Is it themed? Is it connected to your story?
No,
there will be a theme.
it's very themed. So it's champagne and orange, so people can sort of maybe try and guess where I'm going for with this.
So Russ, as you are the expert in the room,
In the
room. There we
yes.
go.
Yeah.
As you are the expert in the room on dead stuff.
On dead things.
What is your preferred method of embalming?
Preferred method of embalming.
Yeah, what do you think? Like that's a good one. You know, that's how you really keep a body for decades or centuries. You know.
Well, the modern medical processes I mean, they're very effective, but they're very clinical. So that to a certain extent, that.
Can you see? Can you see? Now, that is cool. Okay. I will tell you all, we have been trying, basically since we started doing Astroholic, to get hold of dry ice for the cocktails. And it is surprisingly difficult because every time we either find it, we're not then able to transport it, or we just are not able to buy it full stop because, yeah, it's surprisingly hard to get hold of for just very cold
So,
ice.
this is a Bullini. Thank you.
Very good, very good.
I've been thinking about palm cocktail all week. So obviously, is a bit of dry ice, champagne, and orange juice. So I hope you enjoy it.
Wonderful.
If you pass it along to our.
I don't know if you can hear, but they're bubbling.
They're bubbling as
Maybe
well.
Chris can hold it a little bit near the camera so you can see.
It doesn't come out like this, does it?
No?
Once you've drunk it.
No, but just don't
No.
swallow any of the dry ice because it will basically freeze burn a hole in your lining of your stomach.
You
and
never
then
ever
expand
do-
in your...
you just want it to look good, and then you just.
So you wait until it's finished bubbling, basically.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah.
Look at that. God damn it, you outdid yourself this time.
Yeah, well
I
done.
think I did.
Mine's still bubbling away.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So modern modern
Yes.
embalming stuff is very clinical and straightforward. You just kind of get you get pipe which is inserted into one of your major arteries, and they flush it through with a mixture of embalming fluid, which it consists of formaldehyde and a number of other disinfectants, and it simultaneously disinfects the body and also flushes out the fluids to kind of help protect you.
Can I say something?
Of course you
We seem that we skipped a few centuries.
Yes.
Are you covering also those mid-century? Because I
Oh, I was just asking what is his
He was
preferred method of
embalming. I was
embalming.
going to use that as an opportunity.
And actually, that method of embalming is used a lot in science. When I used to be involved in animal work, that's how we used to preserve the sort of animal tissues as well, with called perfusion.
Oh, okay.
Well, you stick it in and you just put like basically formaldehyde and all that other stuff
Flush it
through the
through.
body.
Flush it through.
Bye bye, bloods.
You might have, if you have a.
Be really
couple-
careful, there might be still bits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
I'm just
still
going to
bits.
leave mine for a minute. But yeah, so that's all very clinical and nice, but it's less gooey. I do have a particular interest in the Egyptian process because it is mixed up with their religious practices. So you have the very visceral process of obviously pulling everything out of the body, stuffing it in various Coptic vases, these jars. Different organs would correspond to different jars in the shape of different Egyptian gods who would symbolically protect that organ.
And no brain.
And no brain. The head cavity would then be, once the brain was actually removed, and it was sometimes through a spike going up the nose where they just kind of pull it out, or they'd go in, rarely though, through the eye socket. The head cavity would actually be stuffed with sawdust or wax and things as well.
I had access like that.
And that's quite interesting.
Nice. Yeah, that one.
Charming. And to all of our exes out there,
Watching.
of which there are many, hey guys.
I'm not gonna hear that, and I'm gonna reply to that. So.
I was going to say something further, but how about we make one of our classic toasts?
Classic.
Although we'll wait for
Mine to evacuate.
Ross to finish fishing out bits of ice. To be fair, you've probably just got water ice left, so don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bubbling anymore.
Okay.
Oh, cheers.
To how
Cheers.
about, wait, what are we cheersing to?
To
Formaldehyde.
To formaldehyde!
Cause of and solution to all life's problems.
all of that.
Dev's problems, yeah.
Fruity.
Not bad.
Perfect.
Well done. You've outdone yourself this time.
Excellent. So,
So moving on.
moving on. Matt, have you got something for us?
Well, I thought we would talk about the fun, nothing new, but I thought we'd talk about cryogenics.
Ooh.
So, for those who don't know, well, you probably have heard of the word, but the word cryogenics is the study of anything at really sub-zero temperatures, extremely low temperatures. But it's a term very commonly used when referring to people who try and preserve their bodies by freezing them at extremely low temperatures, hoping that someday in the future they will be revived and be able to walk the earth again. And you have the likes of people like Walt Disney who have frozen either their entire body or parts of their body, at the very least their heads, with the hopes of one day being revived once science has made significant advances. However, as wonderful as it is that, you know, people get to, if they believe that this is going to be an option for them in the future, great. I call bullshit. Like, major bullshit.
Why?
Why? Well, basically, when you, as most people will know, when it gets cold in the wintertime, you have ice forming on your windscreens outside. And what you'll notice is if you go out first thing in the morning, you'll see as it's gotten slowly colder at night, or if the temperature's dropped even really quickly, you'll have various sizes of ice crystals like this forming a lattice across your windscreen. And even though that's super pretty and it's the same process that makes snowflakes, it's actually like tiny. When you're trying to freeze tissue, these ice crystals still form and they cause a very serious problem in that they act like tiny little daggers and they basically just ruin the tissue. So you may have mistakenly or misguidedly frozen certain fruits and vegetables which shouldn't be, like a banana or a tomato, and then you pull it out of the freezer and let it defrost, and you're like, oh wait, it's total mush. And basically that is what happens, and we have not got around that fundamental problem of nature that ice is not very kind to tissues. Now, there has been a lot of advancements in people looking into ways to try and better preserve the tissue, and it has really gone a long way. So that people who have using rabbit brains, they've managed to find a way to preserve a lot of the minute structural details. So here we're talking about the actual structures of the very fine neurons, which are extremely thin and very long, and that have formed very intricate patterns and connections in our brain. Very often they can be lost if you were to just freeze them normally, as is very common practice for trying to store tissue like that if you don't need it to be structurally sound. But through a mixture of freezing and almost embalming-like practices, where they effectively pump through, use different fluids to saturate the tissue and then freeze it. This different tissue doesn't really form ice crystals, or it doesn't have water content in a way that pure water does, and so it doesn't form as harsh ice crystals, so they're able to preserve it really well. That said, no one's managed to then take this brain, or any other, or the brain is the important part, let's face it. Like, there's no point in freezing yourself to come back to life without your brain, because otherwise it's not you.
I think it's one of the issues is you get to a point in which you're just assuming that your body is a machine that you can sort of start back again.
Yeah.
You are dead. You're dead for several reasons, or at least just old age. But it's not quite obvious to me how you're just gonna.
Yeah.
Future magic.
Because the thing is, future magic.
Yes.
It's not you know, as much as the beloved Mary Shelley's Frankenstein shows. Everyone knows the classic image of the Frankenstein's monster on the table being electrocuted and brought to life by the power of light and electricity. First of all, you put that much electricity through any living thing, you got yourself an instant roast dinner. Okay, that is not good. But it's more than just electrical impulses that bring you to life. While your body does produce certain, although very small level of electricity, there's so many more different cellular processes that are going on that almost immediately after you properly died, within a few hours, these the little molecules that maintain these processes that ultimately keep your DNA intact, which then keep your cells knowing what to do, they're destroyed. So your body's actually very good at that. It's sort of, as soon as it realizes it's just you're dead after, where basically your cells are starved of oxygen for long enough, that's when they're like, oh, guess we're dead, and they go into self-destruct mode. And unless you kind of snap freeze yourself before you die, like when you're just on the precipice, there's no way you're going to really keep the rest of those little things intact. So cryogenics, cool,
Quite literally.
bullshit. So I'm glad you got. I'm glad you got the
cool.
there.
Cool. No, that's quite
It's
good.
cool.
So Captain America would not have happened.
Oh God,
But
no.
you see,
But wait, no,
now,
didn't they?
Fingers, guys.
Didn't? Oh, you're getting into some
Yeah.
major nerd territory here. You know, where we discussing the ins and outs of Marvel characters.
Yeah.
Didn't he? He didn't get frozen initially. He got made into a super person first, then frozen. So we don't know the biology of a super person.
And he was frozen alive. He didn't die.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But he's still going to be dead.
It was what would be termed
But
in the
yeah,
cycle cryostasis.
Yeah, it's a
So what's
big
the
healing
difference?
factor.
Cryostasis is the word is almost applied to what they do in many things like open heart surgery today, where they bring the temperature of the body right down. So as you reduce the temperature of anything in the universe, all molecules, they lose heat energy, and heat energy in molecules is often converted to movement, and they vibrate. So the more heat energy molecules have, the more they vibrate. But as you take the temperature of matter down, the vibrations reduce, and so in the body you can slow down all the metabolic processes that are going on, which which obviously maintain your body and keep you alive, but can also work against you when you're trying to not die on an operating table. So cryostasis is using cooler temperatures to maintain a living body kind of thing. So you see it kind of elaborated in this beautiful ideology in sci-fi films where they say, oh, we'll use cryostasis to travel long distances in space, which I don't know enough about to comment on, but I know for a fact that you ain't dead, so it's probably got more merit to it than cryogenics as such, in terms of bringing people back from the dead. So yeah, that's some cold stuff about dead things.
Well, okay.
We have a pun.
Oh, a pun! Oh, I've been waiting for one. Okay.
So Greg says regarding Anatoly, oh wow, proton beams are very concerning.
I like it.
Well done, you get a retweet for that.
I won't shame you for that one. That's pretty good.
I promise some cool near-death experience. Now there's gonna be some weird shit, and then we're gonna go on the terrifying stuff.
Brace yourself.
Yeah, the terrifying stuff is gonna
excited.
be the end after you chat a little bit more. The weird shit is somebody that severely hurt himself for science, but not really for science, as we don't think we'll see much benefit. But we can discuss this. The person that I'm talking about is Johann Wilhelm Richter, which is a German physicist who's famous for discovering ultraviolet radiation. In the year 1800, Alessandro Volta, Italian physicist, discovered
Volta.
Volta?
That's where we get the term volts from?
Yes!
Ah!
He discovered the voltaic pile, so the
voltaic
battery.
piles.
That sounds horrible.
Does he have a ring to sit on?
If you think that's horrible, you have no idea what's coming.
Oh god, so maybe he actually...
Maybe he did actually
Maybe
have
he
voltaic
did have
piles.
voltaic piles.
Okay, he discovered the battery, and Richter was so curious about this electricity that he started trying it, the voltaic pile, systematically on every single part of its anatomy.
Interesting.
So you're seeing where this is going.
So he did give himself piles.
So he tried on his eyeballs, and he said he could see color swinging. So he started realizing before the, I think it was Golgi that did the experiment with the frog.
Yes.
And
yes.
that inspired American. Before that experiment, that there was a connection between electricity and the human body. And trying it on muscle and see reflexes and contraction stuff. And then he became pioneer of electroorgasm, where he dubbed a cloth in milk, apply voltage to it, and place it on his penis. And he was so enamored by this.
Enamored is a tame word.
Yes, by this process.
Shocking revelation.
Yes, that.
You're getting shade for that one.
Yeah,
That is just the worst. Oh my god, it's on silent.
A silent shaming.
So that he wrote to colleagues saying that he was going to marry his voltaic pile.
He's going to marry it.
Marry it.
Marry it.
Wow.
Yeah, and he
Sure, you
was.
understood the implications of marriage, isn't that where usually orgasms end at marriage?
Oh snap.
Anyway,
I don't know, why didn't we ask the married man?
Yeah, I was going to say, married person. You've looked increasingly frustrated recently.
Yeah, I'm worried. If he touches you, or doesn't touch you, you can tell us, you know that. This is a safe space, apart from the internet.
apart from
This is a safe place.
Yes.
The tens of watchers.
yeah, let's not wash Alfredo's clothes in public.
So let's go back. So he actually used the
prototype
the
prototype
to
battery.
stimulate orgasm.
Yes.
So he actually used it, and did he think of patenting this in any way? Did he was this getting
No,
extended any further, or was
was
it just for private consumption?
I think it was not really too private because he would publish the results. But hey, It's as long as you take notes, it's science.
Well, yes, exactly. I'd love to see the notes.
Yeah, seriously, guys, go
Once you
crazy on
discuss
experiment, do amazing things, take notes. That's science. And yes, otherwise he wouldn't have to tell his colleagues, say, oh, by the way, guys, this is the photo, Volta's voltaic pile. I'm marrying it. Ooh,
We ran out of candle.
we ran out of candles. Anyway, let's hope the fire alarm doesn't go off.
And we've still got candles inside our pumpkin though, which
Yeah.
is actually making the room smell rather tasty because I think it's like slowly roasting the pumpkin from the inside out.
We have a question.
Yes.
Ooh.
Ross McKinnon says, in terms of the speed of firing neurons and such, what is the speed of thought?
Oh,
You go.
I like this.
You're
I
the
like
man for
this.
this question.
Well, first of all, thank you for asking me the token biology question every show on the Astroholic.
Sorry, before we have 20 minutes,
answer.
shall I make another?
Do another.
Oh,
please.
please. Yes, do another
Be
bully.
careful.
Yeah.
Oh, it would be great if this is interrupted by an alarm going off.
No, it usually beeps as a warning before.
Anyway, what is the speed of thought? Well, very fast is the short answer. So people have been, people know how fast an electrical impulse will travel through a neuron, but it's not the electrical impulse itself that is the thought that produces your thoughts, or the thoughts alone. So basically, within a neuron, you'll have the cell body, and you'll have these two long axons, which are like really long arms, and then you have axon terminals, which called pre and postsynaptic terminals, which look at each other, face each other like this, but don't actually touch. And so these are how your brain cells are connected. So what will happen is your brain cell from one side will receive an impulse, and then it processes that impulse, and then it basically what's called depolarizing its sort of message sending arm, and by doing that, it creates an electrical gradient by opening calcium channels and sodium channels within the wall of the cell. And so this letting in of ions and releasing of ions creates a gradient, and it is effectively an electrical gradient. So that shoots down the end of the arm, and that once it gets to the end of the arm, that electrical gradient impulse is then it's getting distracted by the bubbly. is then translated into a release of transmitters across this little gap to the next one, and then message goes carrying on. So it's not as the speed of thought is not as fast as the speed of electricity is through human tissue, or like I guess through water, effectively, because there is that little delay of when the molecules are going across the synaptic junction here. But it is pretty darn fast. If you're looking for an exact number, I advise Googling it, because that is something I do not know.
Well, but this is.
But it's pretty darn fast.
If you can Google it, let us know.
I mean,
Yeah, we'll
Tweet
Google
it. We'll.
I mean, you're
Comments
alive
are-
and coherent right now enough to type a message to us to ask us a good question. And that, already requires a lot of thinking, more than you realise. So,
But one interesting thing, and correct me if I get wrong any of the science, is stuff like muscle memory. Like for tennis player, for example, if they actually think, okay, the tennis ball is coming, I need to position my arm, and I know I need to imagine where the ball is going to be in a fraction of a second. It would be the ball is moving too quickly for them to hit it. So there is a lot of automatic movement that are just learned simply because there are neurons in between. This is the part that gets confusing for me. Are trained to react to the stimuli.
yeah. So, what that is the part of your body, or the main part of your brain, shall I say, that coordinates movement is called the cerebellum, and that's at the back of your head over here. And it's, if you look at any pictures, it looks like the bit that's really, really swirly at the base of your brain. So that coordinates your motor coordination, so your movements. It works with your eyes as well to sort of make sure where you see your hand going, that's where it's actually going. So normally, you will get input from your environment. So like with the analogy of the tennis player, you'll see the ball coming. That visual input then gets transferred to the cerebellum, which then says, oh, I got to put my hand out. So that then tells the arm to then extend the hand out to go and hit the ball. But if you do this over and over and over again, what happens is that pathway, it happens the same thing when you learn anything and practice it a lot. That pathway becomes so frequently used, and it grows a lot more connections and it strengthens that it starts becoming a conscious process, and you've just conditioned yourself to be able to do it almost instantly. And even though it is not, it doesn't. People say, oh, it becomes like a reflex. It's not actually a true reflex. Reflexes are very primal things that kind of keep you safe from danger. So, like when you touch something hot, your body will immediately pull away because. So instead of you sensing the heat and that message going to your brain saying, "Ouch, that's hot. Take your hand off." By that time, you've probably already scalded your hand off, and you're going to die of infection if this is the caveman days. Very scientifically correct term there.
The historian is flinching here.
Yeah, you can bring in the fancy words later. Okay. But in that situation with an actual reflex, it misses out the brain entirely. So it just goes into it goes through a different set of neurons that go sit in your spinal cord. So it's much quicker because it has less distance to travel, and that's what a reflex is. So even when people talk about muscle memory and these kind of things, it's not a true reflex, but it's because the pathway is so strong and so well used that we don't have to make a conscious effort to then think about what movements to do with that. We just know.
Wonderful. Okay.
Thank you, Russ, for prompting all the brain talk. I love it. So,
has anybody got us an answer yet on the speed of thought?
Speed of thought. Yeah. Oh, if you can Google that and get it for me, like the speed. Oh, we already got it. Maybe. No. Okay.
The one I sent to you. Look at the one that's in the party.
Oh, is that on like WhatsApp or something?
In the meantime, to the
to synapses and
to synapses. That feels very sophisticated.
Yes.
Champagne glass to synapses.
And to synapses. Okay.
The little gaps that keep us together.
Well, how much longer we got?
We got 13 minutes, and I got about not even 5 minutes to creep you out.
So we've got a little bit of talking left to do. Then.
Yeah. So please, if you.
I'm trying to think on interesting.
Embalming. I have one embalming that is. You know the last person that was embalmed in Italy.
Well, let's define embalming here, because embalming is going on a daily basis with the funeral homes.
Yes. Properly mummified with the
old school herbs and
technique,
spices shoved inside cavities and all that other fun stuff.
So she was a child and she was embalmed at the beginning of the 20th century. But there is and you can still visit her because she's in a very, very creepy glass case. And due to it's in Palermo, I think it's in Palermo, otherwise it's in Sicily. If producer Chris can find pictures or a link. And there is a creepy thing is the fact that due to a change in temperature, the eyelids move. During the day, you put a camera, the eyelids go from completely closed shut to slightly open. This is exactly what you would like to see in the crypt underneath the church. A dead child that slowly opens her eyes.
Do you know why that is?
Rosalia.
Yeah, Rosalia.
No, Rosalia. Not who that is. Why that happens.
I'm assuming the change in temperature and humidity.
So one of the few things when you preserve things like skin tissue, whatever, the few things that actually sticks around that isn't kind of like with taxidermy and other kinds of preservation, for at least in the modern age, they get rid of all the squishy insides of tissues that really is just going to sit there and make things wet and decompose. But one of the things that remain as well as and preserve rather well as well as bones is the collagen, which is the elastic stuff in your skin. And so that still, even though you're dead, it still keeps a lot of its tensile a fair bit of its tensile strength. So as it heats up and stuff, that's been known to sort of happen with the skin pulling at the hand in dead bodies as well.
Yeah,
Because it like onto that. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I just spoiled it.
No.
What a beautiful segue.
While we were talking about dead things in boxes, I was thinking about the various kind of treatments for suspected corpses that might be possessed or evil and likely to come back from the dead, and these kind of practices appear again in most cultures. But in Europe, in particular, things like vampires are always thought to be a person suspected of being a vampire. It's common knowledge these days. Would be exhumed, and you'd find that their bodies looked quite well, and that was supposed to be a sign, even a couple of weeks after their death, that they were potentially possessed. So in the accounts of the early medieval period, when you had these revenants coming back, there'd be the stories that they somehow were attacking people in the night, and in the day there'd be an investigation, just like in Dracula, to go and check out the body. And you'd open up the coffin of the suspect, and you'd find that he was quite well looking, rosy cheeked, usually a sign of blood coming out the side of the mouth.
Like a certain pope that was exhumed 6 years ago.
What is it, you're the Pope?
I don't know, just Italian.
Yeah, just get over it, man. Like,
Though I've always decided if I was ever going to be a pope, I'd be potpourri.
Oh my god, that is so good. It's awful. I'm ashamed.
It's just awful.
So, yes. Thank you. So yes, and there was this is part of the decomposition process where all the gases and the fluids are bubbled up in the body, and they start to ooze out of any hole they can find, and the mouth would basically be an indicator of that. Now, is the process called butyric fermentation?
This is called putrefaction.
Oh, just putrefaction. Okay. But yes, so you have a dribbly corpse that was getting rather rare, and then the depending on where you were in Europe, there'd be a process of either burning the body, cutting out the heart and burning the heart, putting an iron stake through them to keep them in the ground. In the Viking and Saxons, they'd cut the heads off, turn them so they're facing downwards, maybe lay a rock over them to stop them coming back to life. In medieval periods, there's a lot of tradition of cutting heads off. Monsters always having their heads cut off. Grendel had his head cut off. You have the Arthurian legends of all the giants, they get their heads cut off. It became such a joke, an anticipated joke within medieval art, that there are paintings of like hordes of giants running over hills, holding their necks in anticipation of being decapitated. And I actually knew somebody many years back who wants to... the hero who decapitates the monster, David and Goliath, Beowulf against Grendel, Arthur, and the Gorgon. Their head is always given as a symbol of power. It's always given as a trophy, but it's the act of the hero giving it to somebody else to empower the community. And I've always thought a really, really good title for a study on this would be Giving Head in Medieval Culture.
That is good.
Oh, you are bringing the fun. Okay, I like that one. I like that.
On the same concept of all this tradition are not found in sort of Southern Europe. Also, the concept of vampire is not found there. But mostly, I keep thinking so. What are the three famous things about vampires? They cannot look themselves in the mirror.
Yeah.
They hate garlic.
Can only go out at night.
They hate they cannot stand the sun. They hate crucifix. Imagine Italian or Spanish vampire cannot have garlic. Cannot imagine going in a house with or going around with I cannot say crucifix.
And can't look at themselves in the mirror. I mean,
yeah, there is a mirror. You cannot see the mirror, but I can see it, and I'm just staring in that direction.
Yeah, whenever you think he's looking directly into the camera, it's actually into the mirror, almost close to, just almost behind the camera.
He's actually like a large budgie. If you hold one up to your head, that's it.
Yeah. If you leave it in a room with just him, he'll be convinced that there's another Italian there with him.
It starts arguing.
Anyway, since it's the Astroholic Live, not less Russell Fredo.
Are they not the same thing?
Fair point.
Anyway, back to
questions about
yes
things.
We actually had a question about on the same theme of Let's Roast Alfredo. Let me go on notification.
Which roast of Alfredo is this?
I don't
Can
know
we
the
nominate
origin.
from Rob Eastope? Can we nominate how Dr. Carpinetti dies? So
Oh,
what do you think?
How
is
about
gonna
we
be-
do that for each other? Like,
Would suggest a way for the other person to die.
yeah.
This is a story I run in my head every day.
Yeah, should it be like so something that I really love, and it's from Dante's Inferno, is the ironic punishment. Obviously, I don't believe in the afterlife, so I feel that that should have an ironic twist. For example, the horrible person that came up with the idea that vaccine would cause autism. They don't, and he cost life of many children. I feel that he should die of easy preventable disease. I think it's just cosmic balance. So shall we
Can we
have
a disclaimer for this episode, by the way?
what?
That, you know, that we do not wish death on anybody.
Yeah, we don't wish death on anybody.
We don't wish death on anybody.
But
Take
in
everything.
hypothetical circumstances,
Yes.
some are more worthy than others.
Yeah. So if we pick ironic death, I think it would be quite good.
An ironic death.
Yeah, for each other.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm thinking for you.
Mm-hmm.
What do we think for Alf?
Well, it depends. Is he going to have an ironic death concerning his scientific studies, or just him personally? Because I don't know, an Italian being killed by a load of like pasta falling on him would be quite funny. Crushed by spaghetti.
Crushed by spaghetti.
Crushed by spaghetti. Yeah, or sort of drowned in pesto.
Well, he also likes getting really upset in his profession, doesn't he? Likes ranting. He sees some irrational idea and he starts. I assume this is how you type, by the way.
Yeah.
So
Very much like Amadeus.
Yeah, exactly.
in his daytime life, Alfredo is a science journalist. So that's what we're talking about. He does typey stuff. So,
Yeah. And
so you're saying
irrationality.
maybe he like face plants the keyboard once.
I was thinking a
and then
heart
sticks
attack
it.
from a particularly stupid statement that somebody makes.
The flat earthers just get
Yeah,
to you and
flat
just
earth
like,
emails you and you just literally can't take it anymore and just can't
No, I
remind
think
yourself.
I like the spaghetti. Otherwise, ironic, I was thinking meteor hitting me.
Yeah.
No matter the claims, we don't have any evidence that anyone was ever killed by a meteor.
only one.
There is
That wasn't that, and that was quite recently, and
The-
it was a man
the
in
India- in
Bangalore.
India. Yeah,
Apparently
but
it wasn't.
Oh, it wasn't.
apparently it wasn't.
Someone just threw a rock at him. It's like, I don't like
Really
you!
hard.
Meteor attack!
It was
there
a
are
Pokemon, apparently.
the other only
Geodude, go!
sort of rumor that was a dog in Egypt that was pretty much destroyed by a meteor. So that could be quite ironic.
Was it trying to catch it? No, Fido!
So,
Yeah, ironic death for me.
ironic death for Russ.
I don't know. He's too much of a... Yes.
Well, he likes to be alone and doesn't like people, so maybe crushed by a crowd.
Yes, yes, that would be good. I mean,
A slow-moving crowd.
yes. Oh, you care because you've got a lot of pet peeves, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've got a lot of pet peeves, like crushed by a slow-moving crowd who don't notice you're underneath them because they're constantly looking at their phones and they're all reading
Yeah,
a
they get
stupid news article that is total bullshit, but they've got swept up
Written
in.
by you.
Oh,
Are these ironic or are they just unfortunate?
Unfortunately.
I think it's mostly just unfortunate. I know how I would likely
Okay.
die, but no, what do you...
I've always thought I'd get killed by a piano landing on me. My moment, like, I'll graduate to become a doctor and I'll come out and just go, yes, my apotheosis. And then somebody's go, this. Probably
I don't
somebody
think-
playing the entertainer.
Well, I don't think people have been...
cartoon, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think people have
convinced it
been
is.
getting killed by falling grand pianos for a long time. Looney Tunes has been off the air for, unfortunately, way too long. So.
Which makes it more likely for me.
But I'll make sure to find some, like an inflatable anvil and throw it at you on your graduation day.
But yeah, so he's screaming. Yeah. Right, and oh, we got a hand waving.
Yeah, we are gonna run out of
Yeah,
time.
so-
So decide how I'm going to die, and then we can sign off.
Well, no. I have the creepy stuff to say.
Yeah, no,
now
you,
also.
that, we,
Do
do you want to do creepy stuff and then we'll think about how to kill him?
No, I'm thinking brain parasite.
Brain parasite. Yeah. I like terrifying. Absolutely terrifying because there's like stuff. Some of the brain parasites that exist, like that, they're so easy to contract. It's horrible. Like brain-eating amoebas. You just have to go swimming in the wrong lake, and they just like, for some reason, like they'll just like get in you somewhere, and they know how to get to your brain. It's terrifying. You just go mad. Or rabies, and that sends you almost like in a zombie rage.
Rabies actually, some people think that people with rabies were the inspiration for vampires, because people with rabies were aggressive and they didn't like strong smell, like garlic, lights.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Okay.
We don't have a time for this.
Time,
you can disagree with me online later.
Right,
so, no, I'm not gonna scare you. I'm just gonna make you realize how everything we have is built on blood. The reason why we can feed, or try to feed, because unfortunately hunger worldwide is still a problem, but we can almost feed 7 billion people. It is thanks to a chemical process called the Haber process. This takes the nitrogen from the atmosphere and turns it into ammonia, and ammonia is then used to create nitrates, which are used for fertilizer. If we didn't have this fertilizer, not even if we could cultivate every single landmass on the planet, including Antarctica, we would be able to feed the current population. So it's crucial that we have this, that we use fertilizer to feed us. The problem is how it was discovered. It was discovered by Fritz Haber, German chemist, who won the Nobel Prize for it. He discovered it because he was trying to develop chlorine gas and other poisonous gas for World War I.
I thought I knew the name.
Yeah, it's both brilliant because it's something that is crucial for our survival, but it was invented for the most terrible and
sinister purpose.
Just killing as many people as quickly as possible. And
is he the one who then came up with mustard gas?
That's the one that invented mustard gas, and that's
which for anyone at home is basically just chlorine.
Yeah,
like
it's
pure chlorine.
It gives its name because of the colour of the actual cloud.
Yeah,
and it's really heavy. It used, as they would like release these canisters, this like really big, thick yellow cloud used to roll along the ground.
And
lovely stuff.
Yeah, and you would feel that your lungs were on fire, your skin were on fire. We're trying to,
because they would literally be dissolving inside you,
yeah.
your bodily orbit, your lungs and stuff.
The demon is the most likely.
Them squishy bits inside.
And this is the thing is a person, a scientist that we need to despise because it's used science for terrible purposes, and without him, most of us wouldn't be alive. So, with that thought,
it shows you the dual principle associated with technology. Yeah. I mean, you've also got to look at his arguments at the time. Actually, he saw this as a humane form of killing. The actual arguments. The actual arguments. We're dealing with a situation where people are being shot on a mass level, who are dying of disease afterwards. Who are suffering because of various bullet wounds or the traumas of war on a large scale. He actually thought this would be actually a humane way of doing it because it would kill people. Unfortunately, obviously, the rationalisation is that death in a war is death regardless, and that you would just kill off large people quite quickly, therefore you'd win the war quicker and you'd have fewer deaths. By our modern standards, though, and by a lot of people in his day, actually, this was still a terrible thing, but it's the rationality for what was being used.
And this is why science is, for as much as we celebrate science here, science is just a tool, it's not positive or negative. And with those...
heavy notes.
On that absolute cheery humdinger, I think we will bid you a spooky good night on
Yeah.
this Halloween
Happy Halloween.
weekend.
Yes, happy Halloween.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
As always, I've been almost Dr. Matt Young, and thank you to our guest, almost Dr. Russell Moul.
I've
And
been Dr. Astroholic and
Your nipples been staring at me since we started.
Well, I am disheveled red shirt.
We should
Russ
say actually
here
we've got
is,
Halloween party coming
Yes,
up. So
Russ
Yeah,
here
so-
is our Wolverine.
yeah, and then you all know that I'm a Death Eater, but I'm sorry, Russ, my wand has been poking
Yeah.
you in the side the whole
one
night.
has been
and-
interfering with me.
Yeah.
All night.
Yeah, I've just
Got
been
a
really
good end as
excited.
well. So yeah.
So,
On that note,
thank you very much, and
Thank you.
see you next time.
Bye.
see you
Happy
next
Halloween.
time.